it kind of gives me a unique perspective as an actor of like, and then you have to sever that tie because I don't want to be watching myself like an audience member.
Yeah.
But what I do want to do, but what I want to do is go, how is this situation unique? You know, like why do we care? What piece of information is, how are we furthering the story along? What is being handed to the audience here that they need to take with them? And how do I service the story? And what is my note as an artist? Like, what is my, like, I look at it like a symphony, right? So when I go in and you've got Ghost and you've got Tommy and you've got Tasha and you've got Kanan and you've got, you know, Leela, Angie, and all these other cats around us. I go, okay, so what's my note? Like, what's my instrument? Are we just going to all be the same kind of like instrument? Or how do we turn this into something that's got some dynamic and some life to it and some like, wait, where's that guy? What's going on with this person? And that's when you kind of like lean forward in your seat and you're interested. And that's when you really get information, you know, when somebody, like, you know, sometimes when somebody tells you something, when somebody gives you something and it just goes right out the other ear. Like, but you're nodding and you're going like, yeah, but
you're not hearing.
You have no fucking clue what they just said. Sometimes, and this happens to me a lot, and it's embarrassing, but I do that with names a lot because
But that's the business, bro. We all do that shit because we see each other. Like, how many times you've been on a red carpet and you walk by somebody and you're like, you know them, but you can't figure it out. But you walk by them so many times, you've seen them at events, and it's almost embarrassing for you to come up after like 3 years later, and be like, hey, what's your name? Like, the fuck?
Or the worst is when they come up to you and they're like, hey, Shane, so good to see you again. And you're like, oh my God, so good to see you too. And then you're like, oh. but I think the reason is because I almost immediately go into really reading somebody rather than, because, you know, acting and life, and this is one of the things that's been interesting to me as an actor about COVID, is that we get so many, our communication is so multifaceted. Like, we have our voice, but the expression on your face, the look in your eyes, the way you hold your body, the way you tilt your chin, like all of it is feedback that we don't even understand, but internally it means something to us, right? And so when you're on set and everybody has masks on like this, and the director has a shield and a mask on, and you're rehearsing, and then they say, okay, roll camera, take your mask off and go, right? And you felt like zero connection with anybody else other than just hearing them. And it's muffled because it's like this, you know, and so it's like really assuming the position now, which I actually think just takes a little bit more of a kind of superhuman effort to just be present and not get rattled by the fact that it's almost like if we were doing a scene and we had to go away and learn our lines separately and figure out what the scene was about separately, and then they say, okay, the cameras are rolling, go in and do it, you got one take. And you're like, well, can we talk about it? Can we work this out? Can we?
But that's like daytime. That's like daytime. It's like daytime TV. One take.
Right. And you know what? And maybe if I had more of an experience with daytime, like I know you have, but I've never really done daytime. So that kind of just like I said, assuming the position is a skill that I'm still learning. I'm still learning that skill because, like you said, I'm a little bit more theater based, where I like to drill something to the point where I've done it enough, I've vibed with it enough, I've considered what instrument I am, why I'm there, what the story is, all those things enough that I can like kind of let it all go. And be
well, that's
present.
the thing. But as theater, you're literally giving yourself, and it's pretty much the same as daytime, except live, you know, and you have the ability, I think now, like with your training and your experience and exactly what you said, like with the mask, it's very hard to read people's I mean, I've been asking, like, because again, like we've been sitting here waiting in the, you know, like a like on a chicken nest waiting for us to get back into production. So I've been asking all my friends who've gone back early, like, what is it like? Like, how is the preparation? And everyone's got their own different thing. And I think, as you said about COVID, we were in this world before this where everything was fast paced. Even our phones, you're filtering through your cell phone feeds daily, trying to process all of this information that it's impossible because there's so much going on at once. And then COVID forced everybody to stop. And I always say, like, it was a stoppage that needed to happen because all of these things we have, these gadgets and technology that supposedly, as they say, are supposed to bring us together, it's truly actually brought us apart. Like, if you really look at it, like the amount of people that I know, and I'm old school like you, I think, is that I believe in communication, like real communication of getting to know somebody, getting to know, their story, their knowledge, because I look at, knowledge is power. You can never have enough. You can never be not learning. There's some people always say, like, they get comfortable and they're like, okay, I got this job. And I think where you were sort of trying to say, like, and I could be wrong, but I think we're on the same wavelength, is that when you're in a scene and you're doing a scene, and yes, I know your journey, I know the struggle, I know the grind, and then when you land on Power, you're like, okay, this is great. Say season 1, you're like, fuck, this is finally what I've been working for, to get a part of something great like this. Right. And then, obviously, the way Power is written, it's like being on the fucking Sopranos. You never know when you're going to get whacked every 5 minutes. So you have a pressure in the sense that I could get comfortable and have the audience see me, as you said, like either bland or one way. But then for the potential audience, and again, the audience is the audience. Yes, there's the fan base audience. But the way I look at it, every scene is technically an addition for another potential job. Because like when someone's seeing you and they're like, okay, like for me, like when I first saw that film, I was like, yo, I'm going to start following this guy's career, because I was like, I mean, I remember you from Saving Private Ryan, but to really see your work in that film, I'm like, this guy is like on a whole other level of crazy. Like he can play it in a methodic way that it makes it more believable. Like I see, for example, like I see you on a Dexter. Like that's who I thought of. Like when I first saw that, I was like, this is a Dexter type of character mindset, because to play a role like that, you would think someone else's face would be on that role. And it wasn't. It was a guy that was like, seemed like a normal looking guy, but then shit happens. And I think that's when you go, for you, the scenes that you have pulled off in Power, because even I think the fans can attest to this. If you guys are the fans watching this, you have a way of, even if it's the smallest amount of dialogue, to be able to just steal a fucking scene, steal the room, and absolutely capture your attention where you're like, this fucker just say that shit? Like, did he just say this? But it's like, it's beautiful because, as I said, you put yourself in a position now, being on a show that's seen by millions, a huge fan base all around the world. Yeah. As I said, it's a potential addition for someone to say, because as you know, like there's so many, it's, to me, the thing I love about Power is that there's so many people that are in our business that are fans of the show. Like you don't really get that very often on shows where you have other actors and producers and directors going, I know this character, I know that. Yeah. And Power's done that. And I mean, and to me,
it's become part of the culture. I mean, it was to me when I was driving out to the desert out in LA, mm-hmm. and that there's a Cardi B song where she mentions Tommy and Keisha, and I was like, oh man, we're part of the culture. I mean, if you can, without talking about Power, if you can just mention Tommy and Keisha and people know what you're talking about, mm-hmm. then we, you know what I mean? And it's been like, man, I'll tell you, it's been the fans and the audience have been so incredible for this entire ride. I mean, obviously for me, it's mostly like hate and and all and all that. But and it's funny because the first couple seasons, it really kind of bothered me, you know, the the hate. And then once I actually realized what it was, it's become, for me, it's become I love it. Like
But I
I
don't
can't
even,
get enough of it.
but then I don't even really understand in season 1 the hate, because to me, like, the guy that I hated with the passion was Greg Knox. Like, I want that guy dead from day one. Like, he just, to me, was an irritating, not the actor himself, but just the way that, to me, Saxxe didn't seem like a guy that was hateable. He was just doing his job. Like, he was literally just doing his job. So,
and he was just frustrated. He was like a disgruntled employee, right? He was like, why is this girl getting promoted when I should get promoted?
Okay.
And I thought that I was more, and I also thought she was shady. And it's funny because I actually was auditioned for Greg Knox. I auditioned for that role first before I auditioned for Saxxe. And before that, I auditioned for Tommy. That was my first audition for Power, actually, which I knew I was wrong for, but you know, that's part of the history of it, is just to kind of like put yourself out there and roll with it. And
so I want to roll that back before I want you to. I want to talk about that, actually, like your audition process for that. But I want you to continue from where, you know, when you first came to LA, as you said, you know, 1998, and that journey from there.
Yeah, well, you know, it was a lot of struggling. And I mean, I hate the word struggle when they say like a struggling artist. I don't really think it was that. It was just, you know, I landed in LA thinking, if I'm being quite honest, I thought that I was going to be huge. I thought that I was going to blow up immediately, right? And that didn't fucking happen. And I had some cool opportunities and stuff like that, but the competition is real, man. There's, you know, and it's about having the right team and getting the right opportunities and getting it, you know, getting the right job, because sometimes you can get an incredible gig and it ends up on a shelf. Mm-hmm. And it could have been the thing, if people saw it, they'd go like, who the fuck is this guy? But it's sitting on a shelf somewhere, you know? And so for me, it was just a lot of, you know, through my 20s and into my mid 30s, honestly, my casting, I had to catch up to my casting because I have a certain kind of voice. I have a certain kind of manner. And I never really came across like a college kid. And when you first hit LA and you're 22, like I was, that's what you're doing. You're doing all these like CW shows and WB stuff and you know, Princess Diary type stuff and college roles and things like that. And I never came across like a college kid, even when I was in college. So I remember having my agent at Paradigm tell me, he's like, hey, you're going to have to wait, you know, be patient, and your career is really going to start taking off when you're in your mid 30s. And I was like, dude, fuck you, man. Because I was like 25 at the time. I was like, man, what are you talking about? Like 10 years from now? I need something now. And so it was, but he was right. At the end of the day, he was right. And it was, you know, it was kind of growing into my casting. And I'm thankful for it, because it also, man, talk about a humbling experience, you know, to, I know this for a fact. If I had blown up at 22 and the money and the attention and all that stuff showed up when I was 22 or so, I don't think it would have been good for my soul, man. You know, I just, I think I had to grow up. I think I had to have some experience. I think I had to take some L's, you know, and face a few demons. And then I was ready, because now the success or whatever fame I have, and like all that really doesn't mean anything to me other than it can allow me to continue to work, right? And
so like for you, like obviously, as you said, going through that struggle and or you know, process, would you say? Because exactly what you said. Like I don't even like, even when people use the word successful, I'm like,
I'm hot.
No.
I'm hot. Sorry, I'm taking this hoodie off. I'm sweating over here.
Yeah, don't worry.
Keep talking.
They use the word successful, and I always tell people, no, I'm progressful, because I think success is something that you have when you're done. Like when you've accomplished everything that you've actually wanted to do in your career, that's success. But the journey, in the sense, is part of the process, of having to go. So for you, going from, as I said, the wait period to then now reaching success, how do you handle that? How do you handle now, 1 minute, like you're walking on the street and nobody knows you, and then all of a sudden the next day, everybody fucking knows you. How do you handle that?
I'm honestly, I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful. I try to engage pretty much anybody that reaches out to me, or anybody I see. I try to like flow them love, because I've seen some big celebs kind of like treat people, fans,
like shit.
Yeah, and kind of like, I don't have time for you, or like, how dare you talk to me, sort of energy. And I'm like, you know what, fuck you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Or woman in some cases. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, they're the reason that you're who you are. Without them, you ain't shit.
Mm-hmm.
You're not better than them. You're not more important than they are. You just have a different job than they do. And I think it's really important for us to, no matter how much money you make, no matter how much success you may have, we're all in this damn thing together. We're all on this planet together. And I feel like the one thing that I do like about social media, there's some things I totally fucking hate about it, but the thing I really like about it is that it really allows people to connect with us, and allows people to kind of be a part of the journey, and be able to comment to an actual person. And sometimes, it's not all the time, but sometimes people, I'll respond, or whoever will respond. And that connection, it's like our art, as opposed, Hollywood used to be, it was over there.
Mm-hmm.
And we would, when I was growing up, like watching Magnum PI, it was like, there was no way to like reach out to Tom Selleck,
Mm-hmm.
or TC, or, it was no way to do it.
Yeah.
Was just like, it was just like some sort of, and now it's like, boom, and they respond. And you're like, oh my God, Mr. T just told me, thanks, you know what I mean?
But do you feel
I
like
dig you on the A team, brother. It's
but
like,
but do you feel that it's like hurt the business in a way? Because
I think it's really hurt the business. I think it's hurt the business because it's made agents and managers who they're kind of like the necessary evil in this business, that they if you want to go sign with an agent, I bet you now today, the first fucking thing they do is, instead of looking at your resume, they look at
your
your
social
Instagram.
media.
Mm-hmm. And to me, honestly, that's disgusting.
It is.
It's disgusting.
It's because you know why it's disgusting is because people like us, who, as I said, who have gone through that journey, that struggle, that grind, that busting your ass, that waiting for, because obviously, like, I'm sure you've heard this, after you got power, Shane, you're so lucky. You're so lucky to be on it. And you're like,
it just happened overnight, right?
And my thing is, like, there's no such luck. There's no such thing as luck in this business. Like, when you get an opportunity, you fucking earn that shit. Like, it wasn't like they were looking for Shane Johnson before power. Like,
no.
You probably had to audition, as you said, and then you earn your opportunity onto that cast, and then your talent took you the rest of the way. And this is why I tell people, it's like, you have people who start off in the business. Like, when we started, as you said, you couldn't access a Tom Selleck the same way I couldn't access a Sidney Pollack. But I knew that I'm like, okay, knowledge is power. The only way, because again, you never know when you're going to walk into a room and meet your hero, or meet a legend, or meet anybody. And my story was like, I don't want to be in a room and be like, you see a very important person, and the only thing that comes out of your mouth is, oh, hi, nice to meet you, like a fucking fan. So I was like, okay, I need to do the research. And back then there wasn't Google. It wasn't a fucking. It was Atari with a little fucking stick man.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you want to get
We actually had encyclopedias and things.
exactly, and you
Yeah.
and if you had to go to the library, you remember Cole's notes? Those little. It was a book where you couldn't take it out of the library, but you had to like write down information because it was like the most important book in the library that they would never allow
No,
you
I
to
don't know
rent.
that.
Oh my God, Cole's note was the most annoying thing, but it was like the best thing throughout when I was growing up. Was that it was like it was a book that had all the answers to everything. So if you had a test that had all the answers, but you weren't allowed to take this book out of the library. So you had to basically put up like I don't know if you remember those slide machines and you put the paper. Yeah. And we had to write down the information and take the notes. And I remember watching certain films and certain shows, and I was like, look, it's not the celebrities, the actors that are important to me. It's people who are making this shit. Because those are the ones that are making the decisions. The actors are just getting their job.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to watch the credits. And I said, I never know when I'm going to be in a room with such and such. And I said, but if I am, I want to be able to continue that because I always say everything in the business is about relationships. That's it.
Yeah.
It's relationships.
Network,
it's nothing. It's nothing else. It's the relationships that you build, and it's also the fact of your attitude. Because as you say, you can give people information all day long, but then you say it goes through one ear and out the other because they're not willing to actually fucking listen. My thing was like, I'm going to get the information, but in order for me to grow, not only as an artist, as a performer, or whatever my goal is to take that knowledge and apply it. Because I know if I do get into that opportunity to be in that room with that such and such Hollywood bigwig, I want the conversation to go longer than 5 minutes. I want to be able to continue this conversation. So instead of coming up like a obsessed fan, hi, and jumping, I'd fuck with them. I'd be like, so I heard you grossed, 3.5 million in your last film. And I was like 18 years old. You're like, the fuck is it? And for me, even though I didn't know everything, the Cole's notes allowed me to take the bulletin points about a certain producer, a certain director, to get to know those certain things so that they would be like, well, how the fuck you know that? And then it's like, okay, they look at you in a different aspect of like, this guy pays attention. And I remember going to Sydney. Sydney, I was like, look, you don't know me. You're 75 years old at the time. I was like, I don't want you to pay me. I was my first year in LA. I was like, I don't want you to pay me. I just want you to teach me your knowledge. I'll work for free. I don't care what it is, whatever job it is. I just want an opportunity. And he could have just shoved me off, but he was like, he took my card and that was it. I didn't think I was going to hear anything from him. About a month later, I get a call. He's like, come to my office. Started off doing an internship. And I literally, for the first 2 years of the business, I didn't make a penny. I was sleeping in the car, sleeping on the road, like, because I was like, it's the knowledge that I'm going to get from this man is not, you can't get in a book. And I think those are the things that when people see your story and they see your journey, when you finally get there, they don't get the fact that, they see the glory, Cooper Saxxe.
Yeah.
But they don't know the fucking story of Shane Johnson.
Yeah. And listen, I here's the other thing, man. I believe that if you need it, like if you're an artist in your soul and you need it, if you're coming out to LA to be famous or to make money without the soul of it in place, then I feel like they're the people that fall away unless they do get lucky and they hit big right away. The people that stick around, like I'll say this, and I'm sure this is true for you too. When I started auditioning, like 25 years ago, I would go into these rooms, man. There'd be, I swear to God, there'd be like hundreds of guys that look just like me. You know what I mean? Like they could be